Hi there, Chris from TotallyEV, and here we're doing a dedicated audio review of the Tesla Model 3, more specifically the premium audio system which is found on the long range or performance models, at least in the UK. Now, if you'd like a detailed review of the vehicle itself, do check it up on your pop-up banner or indeed in the description below. And further down there, you'll find links to our social media platforms, so do give us a follow as it will very much be appreciated. And if you want to keep up with the latest reviews from the channel, definitely do subscribe and hit that bell notification. So to kick things off, let's talk about the audio configuration. And first off, I should mention that the Standard Range Plus model comes with 8 speakers and no subwoofer. And it's also got a limited immersive sound. If, however, you go for the long range or performance model, as the latter we have on review over here, means that you will get 15 speakers and full immersive sound, and that's part of the premium interior package. Now here you've got 10 speakers located at the front of the cabin, from the doors, the A-pillars and via the dashboard. And at the rear you've got 4 speakers which are positioned within the doors and by the boot. There's also the 15th speaker, or the 5th speaker at the back, which is the subwoofer that's found in the boot. You've also got 2 amplifiers in order to drive all these speakers and therefore deliver you the powerful audio experience. Now, I don't have any official wattage claims in terms of power wattage, but you can find them online if you so wish, and I'll link them down in the description below. Now, through the infotainment system, you can add your EQ functions. In other words, you've got a 5-band equalizer. In my case, I've reduced the bass by 2 notches, and then in terms of the treble, reduced it by minus 0.5. You can adjust this depending on your taste of your music, so do share your settings down in the description below, or shall I say comment section below. But in my case, I found that this kind of portrayed the best overall experience. Now, as for the balance tab, I've left it at center. As for the options, I've left immersive stand as standard rather than using the high level. And as for the sources, you've got a variety of different sources that you might want to use. Now, speaking of which, for you to connect up to the infotainment system, it's done via Bluetooth. And here, the AAC and SBC codecs are supported only. Unfortunately, there's no use of LDAC or aptX, which would have been a really nice welcome sign, given the vehicle is quite a tech-centric vehicle. Now, I should also mention there is USB playback as well. For you audiophiles out there, this does support FLAC, so you can plug in a USB drive and play back your music directly via your USB drive. Now, for the purpose of this review and for the average Joe, I'm going to be basing it on the Bluetooth audio quality and therefore giving you a sound demo. Speaking of which, we're going to get into that just now. I'm going to be placing the camera in 4 separate locations with my microphone, and while it won't be ideal, it'll give you somewhat of a little taster as to how this system performs.
You should hide, then learn how to fly. It's the only way I know how to play this game to success. I'm not quite sussed it yet. Sun is constantly racing 1,000 miles ahead. I'm living in my own mind, but it's floating. I'm always hoping. But when I reach the brink, next thing you know, I'm crawling, I am crawling my way back to falling from so high, falling from so high, so high.
Now, with that sound demo out of the way, let's get onto my subjective opinion, and let's kick things off and talk about that sub-bass extension. Now here, its dedicated subwoofer unit does deliver that low-end rumble that you'll like. While it won't be as powerful and as pronounced and extend as low as the likes of, let's say, the name audio systems found in Bentley, or let's say the Rolls-Royce systems, I do have to say that for a car of its class and for its price, it does a phenomenal job. As for the mid-bass response, it's actually pretty punchy and also controlled, which kind of took me by surprise. In some cases, I actually felt that it was a little bit overpowering, so much so that I actually reduced the bass EQ by 2 notches in order to cater for a more balanced sound signature. Which perfectly leads me onto the mid-range, where often where you find systems that have quite a hearty low-end response, mids are often pushed back and recessed. That's definitely not the case in the Model 3. So much so that I just left the mid-range completely untouched, because I felt that adding a few notches or reducing it gave a bit of an artificial response, and furthermore furthermore, the mid-range reproduction was so impressive that I felt that adding anything to the EQ was just taking away from the overall system performance. What I'm trying to say over here is that vocals, such as the ones that you heard from Priya, come out really well. And furthermore, means that out of the box, as in out of the factory, you get a fantastic overall experience. So much so that you're not going to have to tinker with it too much. And honestly, I'm so surprised as to how the mid-range sounds in this vehicle, to the point that I would say it's probably one of the best mid-centric cars that I've heard out there in the market. Now, as for the highs, they do extend quite well at the top end, while they do tail off at the very top end, specifically if you're sitting at the rear of the cabin. On the whole, they do portray a really nice experience. I did feel that at louder volumes they were a tad bit sibilant and harsh, and as a result that's why I reduced it by minus 0.5, which is a very small adjustment to make, but one that was, in my opinion, needed. Now, as for the Soundstage, here I was really taken back by the overall performance of the system. Here, the 14 drivers found within the cabin, remember there's the 15th in the boot, that's the subwoofer, do a phenomenal job at not only separating instruments, but also giving you a great sense of width and depth. Now, I should mention, if you're an audiophile, you'll probably want to go for the immersive sound off. If you are someone who wants this virtual type of 7.1 or 5.1 type of surround sound, you'll want to go on the full immersive sound, at least if you have the option. In my case, I used the standard mode because I felt it was best of both worlds without sacrificing too much in audio quality, but while also giving me a better sense of, well, spaciousness throughout the cabin, specifically when you're sat at the front. Now, in terms of the Soundstage, the width and depth, it's phenomenal. In terms of the instrument separation, it does a fantastic job at the front of the cabin, although the same couldn't be quite said if you're at the rear of the cabin because you're treated with far fewer drivers. If you remember, there's 4 drivers in total in the rear, where there's 10 drivers at the front of the cabin. So naturally, you get a better sense of instrument separation at the front. Nevertheless, no matter where you're sitting, you're getting a phenomenal experience, and Tesla should definitely be commended. Now, as a result, it should come as no surprise that the audio system gets our Best Buy award. Now, while you can't theoretically buy it, it does potentially pose a question for those audiophiles out there. If you're going to be looking to get the Tesla Model 3, would you save up in comparison to the Standard Range Plus to get the long range or potentially the performance model just for the audio system alone? I know there's a variety of different features out there between the two models, specifically when it comes to range and performance. But if you're a true audiophile, you might want to consider getting the longer range models purely because of the audio system alone, specifically given the fact that you have an actual subwoofer in the boot. But of course, that's just my thoughts and opinions about it, so I'd be intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like this video and want to see more dedicated audio reviews and indeed detailed vehicle reviews, definitely do subscribe and hit that bell notification. And of course, if you feel this video would be helpful to someone making an informed purchasing decision or are kind of contemplating between the different trim levels from the Model 3, then definitely do share it with a friend or relative. Alright, I've been Chris from TotallyEV. Take care of yourselves and goodbye.